Production funding for Making It Up North is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and by the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation.
It was a calling. I've never had a job where people thank me as much as they do. Everybody is so appreciative and happy about what we're doing.
This can be done in a way that is really significant as far as the overall picture of food and agriculture in the Northland.
We actually believe people should eat less meat, but they should eat higher quality meat that's produced locally with better conditions.
There's history to these pork chops. There's love that have been put into them from the farm. And for some weird reason, you can really taste that.
We have a really good mix of different types of people buying produce from us.
You can tell when your carrots come in just because you can smell them, you can taste them, you know, I mean, it's something that, it doesn't mean that we're part of a club or something. We're just trying to put food on the table that tastes good.
Yeah.
Local food, it's a matter of taste. Meet the farmers and chefs who make it up north.
Gave me the big one. So what did you do to this round? It's a little different than the last one that I had.
Well, summer menu had, summer ingredients. This one we went to the fall one. We did some sweet potato, roasted some Brussels sprouts, added some fennel, some shallots, and then with some spiced apples and a little honey.
Sweet.
Oh, that smoke flavor is just so good.
Mm-hmm. It really pairs nicely with that apple.
So what do you think?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I like how you guys do something different with it every season. It makes it kind of work together. And Brussels sprouts are one of my favorite things.
So how did this relationship start with us in Lake Avenue and Yker?
So I think it was about 2012, and we were raising vegetables at the time, and Lake Avenue seemed like the natural place to start, this nice small bistro kind of place. And yeah, so we started bringing vegetables in, and they were super supportive, and we weren't very good at it. But as soon as we started raising pigs, Lake Avenue was the first one that asked for pigs from us, and it's just been kind of like that ever since. So our farmstead here is 160 acres. We have about 70 acres of tillable ground, 80 acres of pasture, and then the other part is used up with barns and homestead. Pigs, just like human beings, they need exercise and they need to have space to roam around, and we like our pigs to be able to be pigs.
To me, a happy pig is a pig that sleeps all day long and comes up to you and wants to be petted and scratched. They just love to lounge around and hang out and eat their grass, and a relaxed pig is a happy pig. I like just being able to see the farrow to finish. That's what it is. We're a farrow to finish operation. You feed that animal, you take care of it and make sure it's happy, and then you harvest it, and you get to see what wonderful things the chefs do with your food. And you get to really feel good about yourself at the end of the day. I like that.
My name is Matt Yker. This is Yker Acres Farm, and we raise pigs and grass-fed beef and chickens. Raising multiple types of animals was really important to us, and we also had a massive amount of pasture that is too sensitive for pigs because of this old growth pine forest, but it's great for cows. And there's a really big demand for grass-fed, grass-finished. Like these guys never get grain. They're fun to have around even when they're causing trouble, like Nigel. They help us provide a lot of fertility to our fields and our pastures, and we've seen it in just one season, the difference that having them around has made. So we're really lucky in Duluth, especially. There's a strong sense of community and a strong movement towards people wanting clean food, and the support they have for local agriculture, especially in the restaurants that we work with, is phenomenal. Lake Avenue and Derek and the whole crew there have been very formative. They were the first, they bought dirty lettuce from us and washed it in their sinks when we were first struggling and trying to get a foothold, and just, they've been really formative in teaching me how to work with restaurants and figure out how to create supply chains and deal with the back of the house and stuff. It's just been a really great relationship to work with them. Can't thank the places in town enough that are willing to put in the extra effort it takes to work with local farms to create this green economy that we're building, and it's very vibrant in our area. Because this area used to feed Duluth. This is, if you drive around, you'll see old root cellars in the groves that used to be stocked full of cabbage and potatoes and rutabagas, and this is what fed Duluth. And I think it can again. So how do you develop a recipe? Like, where do you start with? What's your thought process?
Well, I mean, it's a process that changes, I think, every time, depending on what the product is, you know. And sometimes it's like when you come in and you're like, hey, I have some ossobuco or something, you know, and what can we do with it, or what can you do with it? And just it starts from there, of just kind of like thinking weird ideas we could do, coming to the cooks and being, what do you guys think about this product? What do you think we could do with it? And then from there, you know, we decide like a path, and then the flavors and the plating kind of just come after that. And a lot of the things for me is color. I like color on plates. My name is Jeffrey Zervis, and we are here at Lake Avenue Restaurant and Bar, and we're going to be making our smoked pork chop from Yker's farm. So first, we're going to get ourselves a nice little grill mark going. Get one of our nice pans going here, nice and hot. Pork chop comes with a side of Brussels sprouts and sweet potato puree. So we're gonna get a pan nice and hot. We'll throw our Brussels sprouts right in. Get those cooking. Meanwhile, get a little bit of our sweet potato puree cooking. Sweet potato puree is made by roasting our sweet potatoes and then blending them up with a little cream and butter. Let's get a little bit of color on our Brussels sprouts. We're gonna add some fennel, a little bit of shallots, a little garlic, salt, a little black pepper. Give it a nice little toss. And into the oven it goes. A little bit of creme fraiche, pepper, a little salt in the sweet potatoes. And let it continue to warm up. All right, once it's been going for a little bit, flip them. Let them keep going. All right, so we got a little butter here going. We're gonna make our spiced apples. We're really healthy here at Lake Avenue, so we like a lot of butter. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and plate here. Sweet potatoes are nice and warm, so we'll melt that with a little bit of butter. Give it a little taste, make sure it's good. Yep. What we try to do is give people ingredients and products as good as possible. Like, we want to have the best products, the most local products available. I'll give it a nice little swish here. Next, it's our roasted Brussels sprouts with a little shallots and fennel. There's something to say about it. You can put anything on a plate and make it look good and semi-taste good, but having the true local product and products that are cared about and have like passion behind them, you know, really show on the plate. It really brings the plate to a different level. Then to finish, a little fiend herb. There you have it. Beautiful Yker smoked pork chop.
So, what do you think about the idea that people come to you for their nourishment and that you feed them and that's your living?
I think it's very humbling in a sense. I think you can go anywhere to eat, but for people to try to come to our restaurant is very cool, and feeding people is something that's very important, to give them a product that they should be putting in their body that I want them to try and eat. To give somebody one of your products and show them what they can do with it, and then tell them that they can find these products locally too and bring them home and have them eat them, I think is something very cool. What about for you?
Well, for us, you know, the greatest reward we have is that this is really one of the only things I've ever done in my life, career-wise or even anything, that I will give people a bill and they thank me, which means a lot because, you know, money is kind of what rules our world, and if you're willing to give it up and thank somebody for that, that means a lot, that they're really happy with what you've done.
We work with farmers like you that give us products that, you know, make us have great food. We can't put out great plates with a good product, right? So
I think it's a combination of both things going on. You do. I can't make this pork chop taste like this in my house.
All right, today we're making a batch of chorizo with Yker pork. This is an item we use in our huevos rancheros. So what we're gonna do to get started here, I've got a variety of spices. We've got ground guajillo pepper, some salt. We have an oregano, black pepper, and some brown sugar. And we're just gonna mix this all together here. Really just kind of incorporating the spices together. Till about like that. All right, and then we're gonna add everything to our mixer here. So we have our ground pork. I've got some chopped fresh garlic. Add our spices. Add a little bit of cider vinegar here. And then we're adding our water. And we're gonna just let this go until we see the spices all come together. And this is something we're gonna let rest overnight just so that the spices really come through on the pork before we grill it. Right now we're doing the chorizo. We have a spicy black bean and then some fresh pico here. And we're just gonna cook this all. We're gonna be adding some hash browns to it, some eggs. All right, and then we're gonna top it with whatever kind of sauce I'd like. We do a guajillo pepper sauce, sour cream, and a fresh made guacamole. So that's all she wrote.
I want the nice, the big leaves that don't have any yellowing on them. They start to get tough and bitter down near the bottom once they get too old. But I don't want these tiny ones up on the top because I don't want to take it before it's prime. Our farm is really based on the CSA model, and that's community-supported agriculture. And so the CSA concept is basically people support the farm financially at the beginning of the season, so we're not taking on debt to fund the startup costs every year. Then they're sharing the risk with us, and then we're delivering every week as wide a variety as we can all through the season. My name is Yker Fisher-Merritt, and you're on the food farm in Wrenshall. And today we're putting together a delivery for our CSA members. I prefer bean plants that aren't this big. They're too big. It's too hard to find the beans. The big task of the day is picking the green beans, yellow beans, actually. So that's the most time-consuming part of our delivery. We've sold vegetables wholesale all along. My parents moved here into the Duluth area in '75. My dad started working at the Whole Foods Co-op in 1976. So we've always sold produce to them, and our growth and the co-op's growth has really gone hand in hand, and we've kind of developed that market together.
Whether it's the co-op or all the restaurants in town that buy vegetables from us, that they're willing to work with us and willing to be consistent customers for us. And they've really done a great job in trying to, go out of their way to buy local produce. So we're really fortunate that way too.
Yeah, so this is the cooler area. So it's got refrigeration, but it's also earth sheltered. So that really cuts down on our energy use. And in summertime like this, we don't have a lot in here. In winter, this will be stacked all the way to the ceiling. So these bins here is what we store with through the winter. And we'll stack these 5 high. So these will hold like 1,000 pounds of beets or 800 pounds of carrots.
So I think what I'm most proud of is the volume and quality of food that we produce and the way that we are able to treat the soil and the ground that we work with.
Not split, nice and even, consistent. So these look really good. I don't ever remember specifically making a choice like, okay, I'm gonna farm full-time now, and that's what I'm going to do. It was just, the more I did it, the more I liked it, and the farther in it you are, the harder it is to see a way out. Our goal is trying to get to a point where we're providing a decent living for ourselves and people who work here, and provide high quality food for people in this area. We don't want to get to a point where we're so big that we have to start shipping stuff other places. We want to be working cooperatively with as many people as we can, and so some of that is our customers, some of that's our CSA members. And I think we're doing pretty good. I really believe that high quality food is everyday food. It's nice to supply a restaurant that's a really, expensive, super fancy place that people might go to once a year and have this incredible meal. But I feel a lot more excited by making sure people get good quality food just on a everyday basis.
Being a small local business, we wanted to differentiate ourselves and not be the chain restaurant. So we started looking and reaching out to say, well, how can we buy from our people that support us, the people that come in and eat at our restaurant? You know, so it really was enlightenments every day, one by one, over the course of 10 years that have brought us to do this kind of big system we do today. It wasn't an overnight.
Right. And that's the other thing that I try to have farmers realize when they want to supply restaurants. It's like, these people are super busy. This is a really complicated thing. You can't just show up and say, oh, here's this stuff, take it from me.
Well, I can tell you what happens when you do that, because it happened to us in the beginning. It sat in our cooler and nobody touched it. And, you know, we had to go in and show them that a whole stalk of broccoli gets broken down, and then, you know, well, what do I do with the stems? Well, the stems have great flavor and great nutrition. It's just you don't want to serve them as giant woody stems, you know, so you have to become a little more creative. And then I think we both owe a lot to kale, don't we?
We do, yeah.
That one is, thank God for kale. That's
you.
one of my favorite dishes right there. This is one of the originals with the red flannel hash.
Yeah.
And red flannel hash was put on our menu back in the low carb craze with Atkins, probably in 2003 or 4. And we wanted to give like a healthy hash brown, but nobody wanted potatoes then. You know, so I mean, it was this sweet potatoes, carrots, beets. Beets were kind of a superfood, I think, or one of them was. I don't remember that superfoods came out. And so we were just really, you know, putting it together, and it's a very basic roasted vegetable dish, which is total comfort food. All of our red flannel hash is cut by hand. So we're looking for a 1-inch dice. We opened as Embers, which when we did, it wasn't really drawing people from all over with the word of mouth and the talk that, you know, you need to really thrive in this business. So we served a regular clientele. It was some basic food, but of all the things that I did wrong, I got them out of the way while I ran Embers, and it wasn't kind of in the spotlight. I made tons of mistakes through business relationships, being naive. Sheer tenacity kept us going, and my wife was a key player in our success, and she never takes the spotlight. And I've learned that, you know, you have to give a lot of credit to the people around you, because we had this good core team and we had people that were taking care of the customers, but we went to work for a long time for negative money, and you know, how we stayed in business is incredible. You know, you just, when you're down to the wire and you are at that crossroads, you have to dig deep and realize that, you know, relationships and people are what make you successful. Your own you know, ego and everything has to be put aside.
What I try to do is keep the failures. It's fine if we fail a lot. It's just as long as I keep them fairly small. So when we try different things, we're not betting the whole farm on that experiment. We're starting small.
Well, you know, we put in so much effort to growing our own food. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of hours and dollars into growing our own food. It's an amazing process to look at, and we've learned that we're not successful with farming. We've been successful with marketing, and it's been fun, and they've been displays for people to maybe take home and do at their home. But farming that's the one that I say is harder and worse than restaurants. You know? You know, the benefit is super basic. It comes through in the flavor of the food.
And that's one of the things I've always appreciated. You guys focus on the whole package. The vegetables aren't just a garnish. It's an important piece. It's nice to have that valued, you know, once it gets to the restaurant level.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna come get some.
when you have an actual economic relationship and the food that you eat depends on their well-being as well, other people and the landscape becomes not just scenery, it's a whole different level of connection that I find really valuable and really deepens my connection with the community at large.
We're producing a lot of food in Carleton County to feed our region. It's really cool.
You know, I think if the local farming thing works, it's going to take the entire community to adjust and shift and understand that, you know, the benefit is super basic. It comes through in the flavor of the food.
It's blossomed into this thing that it's almost uncontrollable. Just people are starting to see that it's a need and necessity, and it should be. You know, sustainable farming and sustainable eating is something that really needs to be practiced.
I walk by a table and I hear them saying, and all the vegetables they use, they're growing right here in their parking lot. I'm like, I can't even imagine that, but I'm not going to interfere with that. I'm going to let them just roll with it.
Production funding for Making It Up North is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and by the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation.